XRP has seen its fair share of speculation over the years, and in today's video I'm going to be adding a little bit to that. We're going to be taking a look at the macro view for XRP and what that is looking like, where we could potentially see the price action of XRP heading in the coming months and years. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful, smash that like button. If you're new to the space, subscribe, and let's take a look at what's going on with the macro chart for XRP. So we're going to kick things off right here on our 1 week time frame, and this is basically XRP paired up with the US dollar, and we're on Bitstamp data. Okay, so here we have trying to just charted up some of the basic stuff. Okay, so we can see that on Twitter there'll be lots of kind of speculation around this particular pattern, these kind of triangular wedge patterns that you see. If you're on X, you'll see a list kind of being posted and regurgitated over and over and over again. These particular patterns are known as continuation patterns. Okay, they kind of have higher lows and lower highs, and they kind of wedge themselves down, and you kind of get into this little apex area, and then you get a breakout or a breakdown. Now this is known as a continuation pattern, as I said, because what that means is the price action will continue the move that led into it. Okay, so in the case of some of these in the very early days down here in 2013, for example, if we just take a look at this one, from back in 2013, here you can see that we have ourselves higher lows and lower highs. Okay, this wedge pattern right here. This continuation pattern obviously still had this very significant drop to begin with, bit of volatility, and then a breakout. And it's a breakout to the upside because what led into this was a move to the upside. Okay, so we have the move to the upside. Here's the insufficient data here, but move to the upside. You have your consolidation phase, okay, which is basically your continuation here. And then you get into this tight apex, and then you get the break to the upside. Okay, now what we're witnessing on XRP's price action on a macro time frame is the exact same scenario. This one's actually a lot cleaner because obviously there's more liquidity now than there was back in 2013 and so forth. With this particular example, you can see that we had a fantastic run to the upside. Okay, coming up here, we then have this continuation pattern, which essentially is just a ranging market going sideways, bouncing between some key levels. And what's going to happen after this is a fantastic break to the upside. Okay, so lots of speculation around, where that goes, and rightfully so, because obviously the pattern in itself is one thing to identify, but to be able to kind of predict out how high the price action goes afterwards is another thing altogether. So for that, we are going to use several tools. Now, obviously, I am an Elliott wave theory kind of guy, so complex subjects I know, but nonetheless we can see here a 5-wave pattern to the upside. Now this is usually met by a 3-wave correction. Now from the high of 2017 here, you can see that there's a 3-wave correction. Okay, right here, here, and here. And what we are looking for is essentially a 5-wave break to the upside. Okay, so we're looking for a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, 4, and 5. Now, it's possible, of course, that this is a part of a different structure altogether, where we actually have some kind of running flat correction or something to that effect, which would actually look more like this. So we have the idea here that we have some kind of ABC structure. Obviously, it doesn't really fit because the B should be higher than the origin of the A wave and so forth, so I don't really feel that that really fits. But one of the things that we need to be aware of here is that we are going to be looking for is this idea of a wave 1. Now, in terms of understanding how high these breakouts can go, there's a few things I want to kind of stress, right? The minimum expectations I would probably have on this breakout from our continuation pattern is going to be a 1 to 1.236 fib extension level based on our existing structure here within the triangular wedge, okay, within this continuation pattern. Okay, so we have our swing low over here on the June 13th, 2022. That low came in pretty well, coming in just down here at 28.704. So if I can take the fib levels and I go ahead and put that up onto that level of 28.704, I'll go ahead and put that right in there, 2704. We'll just go ahead and knock that down just a little bit until we get to the exact level. What this is going to do, it's going to allow us to show you where that kind of 1 to 1.236 level is going to be, right? And that's going to be up into a new all-time high for XRP. Now, this is going to be a lower level than what many people are probably going to tell you on X or on Twitter and social media platforms just generally, like YouTube and so forth. But it is kind of like my minimum expectations are going to be. This is going to be a three-wave structure, 1, 2, and 3, like this. And the reason for this is it allows us to still have that irregular flat or running flat situation occur, right? Because as I said earlier, for an irregular flat, we'd have to have the B wave go up higher than the origin of the A wave and then come down in either an irregular flat where we come down deeper than the 2022 low, or a running flat where we just come down to this previous area of consolidation. Now, this is all very important stuff because it plays part in the bigger macro picture. We're not talking necessarily just 2025 bull market territory. We're potentially talking about, what happens by the time you get to 2030. And there's lots of speculations about how many trillions of dollars market cap XRP potentially could have. So, one of the things I want to stress on, this is the minimum expectation. This is mainly because I don't see a wave 1 forming in this area at the moment. It's not to say that it can't, because it can. But for now, you can see here, my minimum expectations are going to be between 495 and 969. Okay, so again, this area will be my minimum expectation. I'm going to go ahead and remove the fibs off there but leave the yellow box area. And so that's going to be the one scenario. The other option, of course, is that we do in fact have a structure in here that is more diagonal in its nature. And if we have a diagonal structure inside this particular move from 2020 low, the March 2020 low, up to where we were up in April of 2021, if this is a diagonal based pattern, well, in that particular scenario, we would actually then look at that as the wave 1, and everything from 2021 to where we are today is a part of the wave 2, wave 3 setups. Okay, now can we make something fit in here? Well, the only way that you're going to make this fit is if we have a diagonal based pattern that is either a leading diagonal, contracting diagonal, or expanding diagonal. This is where things get a little bit more complex. I'm going to use some trend lines here to try to help depict what that looks like. But as you can kind of see, we'd have the idea of maybe an expansion. Okay, so that's one possibility where you'd have one big large wave towards the end. Okay, and the other way to look at it would be through the idea that maybe we have some kind of leading diagonal, but I don't think we meet the requirements for a leading diagonal because we'd have to see 1.618 targets get hit. So the only one would potentially be the idea that we'd have some kind of expanding diagonal structure, right? So you'd have to have some kind of wave 1, wave 2, 3, 4, and 5 situation, with wave 5 being the largest wave. Okay, so wave 1 would have to be the smallest, wave 2 would have to come down, wave 3 would have to be here, okay, wave 4 here, and then wave 5 like that. Okay, now in this, there's a few things that we have to consider. Wave 4 is not allowed to come down deeper than wave 2, so it doesn't, so that's fine. And wave 3 doesn't have to be 1.618, but it quite clearly is. And wave 5 has to be the largest. Wave 3 can't be the shortest. So in this particular scenario, wave 1 is the shortest wave, so that's fine. Wave 4 does not cross lower than wave 2, so that's fine. And we'd have the wave 5 being the largest wave. So everything in there does fit the idea of an expanding diagonal. Okay, so it's possible that this is a wave 1, okay, and it contains these 5 waves. If that is the case, then we have the ability to start thinking about whether we're going to replicate everything that happened from 2014 upwards to the 2017 high, because typically a 5-wave move like this happens to repeat itself. It goes between 1 and 123.6 times the structure that you see here. So it's either going to be the 1.236 or it's going to be the 1-to-1 ratio. And it could start from the lows that we saw in March 2020. So over a multi-year period, as you can kind of see, this is something that's been building for a very, very long time. We could potentially see this price action rallying up very, very significantly. Now, these numbers, they're phenomenal numbers. Obviously, I would say this is probably more of a kind of 2030, maybe even later situation. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. But here you can see the idea of $136 to $722 for XRP. Now, in order to get there, it's going to be a very tough ride. It's not something that's going to happen, as I said, overnight. This is a multi-year kind of idea. And in doing so, we would have to see our first kind of wave 3 situation, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this one. Right here, our first wave 3 situation would happen here at $28.50. Okay, so we would have to see this play out like so. So we'd have a wave 1, we'd have a wave 2, a wave 3, probably 2025 bull market, correction into the kind of 2026, 2027 kind of bear market situations, and then that final run to the upside into those phenomenal highs. Okay, that would be how you'd have to look at it over a multiple year period up into 2030 and 2029, that kind of bull market peak around $136. So this would be what we'd call a zigzag pattern. It's a big corrective pattern that lasts many years, and it would be an A, B, and C structure like so, a 5, 3, 5 structure. So again, there's a couple of different ways that this plays out. So one, this is kind of the bullish hope that maybe this is the one that plays out. There's not enough data to kind of say that's definitely what's going to happen. And of course, you have the more conservative target, which would be the kind of $4.94 to $9.69 as an example. Okay, so there's a few ideas bouncing around when it comes to XRP's price action. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of kind of fear. There's lots of FUD. There's lots of doubt, uncertainty. But one of the things that is quite clear to me, no matter how many different angles I try to take on XRP's price action, there still looks like the need for a new all-time high. So the only question is, how high does it actually go? You can let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server linked in the description. Do we think that we could actually see a $700 XRP by 2030? You guys let me know. And if you haven't already done so, check this video out right here. It's not one that you're going to want to miss.